Before we move into today's episode, I want to ask you to do something very brief. For a short moment, think about the last 7 years of your life. The important moments, your birthdays, New Year's celebrations, the time you spent with the people you love. Now imagine someone else. A small cell, alone, no window, just a straw mat and a toilet, forced to break stones under the burning sun or freezing wind, allowed to see one family member for only 30 minutes a year, allowed to write only 2 letters, days passing without seeing anyone, without speaking to anyone, without hearing from loved ones. Thousands of days, 27 years. If you were in that position, what would you feel toward the system that imprisoned you, toward the people who crushed you, toward those who denied your humanity, toward those who tortured you? Most of us would say revenge. We would even justify it. But when he walked out of that prison after 27 years, he showed the world something different. Real strength is not clenching your fist. It is extending your hand. It is forgiveness. And today, we are not going to talk about his life story. We are going to talk about his mindset. Because Nelson Mandela's lessons can change not only a country, but your life. In 1964, Mandela was sentenced to life imprisonment by South Africa's apartheid regime. In his cell on Robben Island, when he stood up from his bed, his head nearly touched the ceiling. No window, no one to speak to. Oppression, abuse. But Mandela did not complain. He did not pity himself. He did something unexpected. He educated himself every single day. He studied law. He studied history. He learned the language of the guards. Why? Because you cannot transform your enemy if you do not understand him. He knew that when this oppression ended, he could not walk out as a broken man. He had to walk out reborn. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The obstacle is the way." Mandela proved that not in theory, but across 27 years. The lesson is this: circumstances do not shape you. Your response to them does. You may be living through your own Robben Island right now. Maybe a job loss, a betrayal, an illness. The question is, what are you doing inside that cell? Are you feeding anger, resentment, rebellion? Mandela becomes the first black president of South Africa. Now, imagine this. You hold all the power. You can punish the system that crushed you. You can bring those guards and judges to account. History itself would say you have the right. What did Mandela do? He invited former enemies into his cabinet. He established the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, not a courtroom for punishment, but a table for confession. Let people admit what they did. Let the country confront the truth. Let society heal. This was not weakness. It was one of the bravest leadership decisions in modern history. Because Mandela understood something profound. Revenge may satisfy a generation. Forgiveness can save a nation. Muhammad Ali used to say, "Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee," to psychologically dominate his opponent. Mandela did the opposite. He psychologically liberated his opponent, and that made him even stronger. That is why this quote matters. Resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies. This is the most critical part of this video. Mandela once said, "As I walked out of the prison, I knew that if I did not leave my bitterness and hatred behind, I would still be imprisoned." Think about that. Your body is free, but your mind is still in the cell. The physical chains are gone, but emotional chains bind you. Hatred demands energy. Anger demands attention. And you are giving that energy, that attention, to the very people who hurt you. Frida Kahlo poured her pain onto canvas and transformed it into art. Mandela poured his pain into politics and transformed it into peace. Both did the same thing. Instead of consuming their pain, they converted it. Who are you angry at today? Who is still imprisoning you in your thoughts, in your heart? That person is consuming your energy for free. Mandela's lesson is simple. Forgiveness is not for them. It is for your freedom. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is the greatest strength. Now, let's come back to today. We live trapped inside technology. Social media has divided us into camps. Politically, socially, culturally, it's either you're with us or you're against us. Algorithms feed outrage because outrage generates clicks. And at this exact moment, Mandela's legacy screams at us. Apartheid was one of the most brutal, institutionalized systems of discrimination in human history. Mandela did not need a weapon to dismantle it. He had something stronger: principle. Violence breeds violence. Hatred produces more hatred. But someone must break the chain. Mandela chose to be that person. On this channel, we have seen Marcus Aurelius taught us inner control. Miyamoto Musashi taught us focus. Muhammad Ali taught us belief and fighting spirit. Frida Kahlo taught us to extract meaning from pain. Mandela combines all of them and goes one step further. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. To understand Mandela, we must redefine courage. Courage is often misunderstood. Being harsh is not courage. Being angry is not courage. Crushing your opponent is not courage. Mandela's courage came from somewhere deeper. He did not deny his fear, he mastered it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. Fear makes people either aggressive or passive, but confronting fear consciously, transforming it and controlling it in service of a greater purpose, that is true leadership. The same applies in our individual lives. At work, in relationships, in social debates, most reactions are rooted in fear. Fear of losing, fear of being insignificant, fear of being left behind. When unmanaged, these fears turn into anger. When controlled, they become character. Mandela's strength was not physical power. It was inner balance. From this story, we must take 3 lessons. First, circumstances do not define you, your responses do. Even in prison, you have the freedom to choose. Second, true leadership is not about accumulating power. It is about distributing it, not controlling people, but elevating them. Third, forgiveness is not weakness. It is a strategic decision for freedom. When you release hatred, you finally become fully free. Nelson Mandela lived 95 years. He was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. He left enormous marks on this world. But Mandela does not just give us a history lesson. He gives us a roadmap for living. If he could choose forgiveness over hatred after 27 years, why can't we rise above everyday grudges, workplace rivalries, and social media outrage? Remember, what imprisons you is not only walls. What truly imprisons you is the endless anger you nurture in your heart. Are you ready to break your chains? If you liked this video, check out the rest of the series. Marcus Aurelius, Miyamoto Musashi, Muhammad Ali, Frida Kahlo. Each one opens the door to a different mindset. See you in the next video. Think like legends.